Near extinction of humanity, Toba Eruption, approximately 74,000 years ago. The ancient Toba volcano in Indonesia erupted with such force that its impact was felt around the world. It is believed to be the largest eruption recorded on the planet in the last 2 million years. History. The eruption led to a nuclear winter and massive climate change that wiped out significant populations of animals and plants. Scientists believe that only a few thousand people survived. If not for the miraculous survival of these ancestors, humanity might have disappeared long before civilization arose. 2. A secret society almost overthrew Napoleon, 1800s. Secret societies have often been behind the scenes of revolutions and coups. One such society, the Royalists who lost their power after the French Revolution, almost killed Napoleon Bonaparte and could have prevented his rise to power. The story: conspirators planted a bomb on Napoleon's route home, but miraculously the explosion occurred later than expected, and he escaped mortal injury. Had he died, France and Europe might never have experienced the Napoleonic Wars, and the map of the continent would have looked different. 3. The sinking of the Titanic could have never happened, 1912. The famous disaster, in which more than 1,500 people died, might not have happened if the ship had changed course or received warning of icebergs a little earlier. History. The captain had received warnings about possible icebergs, and the crew had the opportunity to reduce the ship's speed. However, the ship continued moving at full speed, colliding with an iceberg. If the captain had acted more carefully, the tragedy might have been prevented, and the story of the Titanic might have become less dramatic. 4. The Great Depression almost averted, 1929. The Great Depression began with the crash of the U.S. stock market in 1929 and had an impact around the world, leaving millions without jobs and hope. But there was a moment in the crisis when it could have been prevented. History. A few big investors tried to stabilize the market by investing in it to prevent panic, but these efforts were insufficient. If the measures had been more coordinated and supported by the government, the decline might have been stopped. The world would not have experienced such severe years of depression, and the U.S. economy would not have needed such a deep recovery. 5. Einstein's almost forgotten theory of relativity, 1905. Albert Einstein almost never published his theory of relativity, one of the most significant scientific discoveries in history, explaining the nature of space, time, and gravity. History. When Einstein presented his theory, it was met with skepticism from colleagues and editors. He eventually convinced the scientific community of the value of his work. If the theory had remained unrecognized or unpublished, the understanding of physics and the technological progress of the 20th century could have been delayed for decades. 6. The Internet almost collapsed, 2002. In October 2002, one of the largest cyber attacks on the global Internet infrastructure occurred, which could have led to a complete disruption of the network. History. The attack was directed at the root servers of the DNS system, which are responsible for distributing Internet traffic. If the attack had been successful, the Internet could have been seriously disrupted, which would have led to a global crisis in communications, the economy, and communications. Thanks to the timely efforts of specialists, the attack was repelled and the Internet system continued to operate. 7. Almost found Jack the Ripper, 1888. The serial killer Jack the Ripper terrorized London, and despite all efforts, the police failed to catch him. This crime remains one of the most mysterious and frightening stories. The story: the police came close to catching the killer and even developed a plan. They had a suspect, but no evidence to arrest him. If there had been more evidence, Jack the Ripper might have been caught, and one of the most frightening mysteries of 19th century London could have been solved. 8. Almost a nuclear war, the Norvad incident, 1980. In 1980, radar screens at the North American Aerospace Defense Command, Norvad, began to warn of a nuclear attack by the Soviet Union. For a few minutes, it seemed as if World War III had begun. The story: it turned out to be a technical error caused by a faulty microchip. The error could have led to an immediate retaliatory strike, but military commanders checked the data and did not make any drastic decisions. This was one of many near disasters during the Cold War. 9. The almost cure for cancer, 1971. In the early 1970s, a group of scientists almost created a vaccine that could prevent certain types of cancer. Research showed that some viruses can cause cancer, and developing a vaccine could save millions of lives. History. However, a lack of funding and support led to the research being put on hold. If this work had received more resources, the world could have had an effective cure for cancer sooner and saved millions of people from the disease. Columbus's nearly aborted expedition, 1492. Christopher Columbus and his crew set out to find a western route to India, but instead discovered the New World. However, on the way to their goal, he and his crew encountered many difficulties and dangers, which almost caused them to abort the expedition. History. In fact, Columbus's crew almost rebelled against him, demanding to return to Spain. Columbus managed to persuade them to continue their journey for just a few days, and soon they reached land. If they had not listened to him, the New World could have been discovered later, or by other navigators. The Curiosity Mars mission's near failure, 2012. In 2012, NASA launched the Curiosity rover to Mars to study the planet's conditions and look for signs of life. However, the landing was one of the most difficult in the history of space exploration and could have ended in failure. History. Curiosity had to go through the 7 minutes of terror, the stage when the rover descends through the Martian atmosphere at high speed. If the parachute and brake system had not worked perfectly, the rover would have crashed on the surface. Thanks to precise calculations, the landing was successful, and Curiosity is now sending back invaluable data about Mars. The near extinction of life on Earth, the Permian extinction event, approximately 252 million years ago. At the end of the Permian period, a series of volcanic eruptions occurred that nearly wiped out all life on Earth. The story. The extinction event affected about 96% of marine species and 70% of land species. The world remained nearly empty for millions of years. However, a small number of species survived, allowing evolution to restore biodiversity. If the Earth had remained completely sterile, evolution might have stalled and modern life would never have arisen. These stories create a compelling narrative showing how close we were to radical changes in life, politics, science, and culture.